Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Aqualung MBS Legend Regulator in the Stage 3 configuration. So this is Stage 3, basically means you get the primary and the octo as well. All you need to do is add a set of gauges and any BCD or dry suit hoses. MBS itself is a really good all-rounder of a regulator, good in cold water, good in warm water. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so this is how it arrived. Cardboard box with a pretty funky sleeve sort of over the front, sort of tropical beaches. All the information, serial numbers and stuff is on the bottom. Taking the sleeve off. Cardboard box, nice eco-friendly. Let's open this up and see what's inside. Okay, so we have our regulators. So you have your first stage, a pair of hoses. The alternate, your octo, isn't sort of fitted, so you're going to have to do that. And then you have the MBS second stage and the standard Legend as an octo. You also have a book of words, the user guides, regulator in 100 different languages. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the regulators themselves. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the regulators themselves. If I move the octo to one side and we start off with the first stage. So the first stage on the Legend is a big hulk of metal, and this is exactly what you want for cold water environments. This acts as a huge heat sink because they do get cold, especially if you're using them a lot in very cold waters. So to prevent that, use a big chunk of metal, and that acts as a big heat sink. And you can really see that in these fins here. So this section is just helping to prevent that first stage from getting cold and prevent it from freezing over. 4 low pressure ports, 2 on each side, and you can probably see these are slightly angled out. You can tell by the primary hose, they angle away from one another. So if you've got 2 hoses side by side, they're not bunching up too much. So it's not hard to get the sort of the spanner or the wrench in to do it up. So plenty of space. 2 high pressure ports, 1 on either side, and again these are ever so slightly angled sort of away. This is the DIN configuration, and this has the ACD or the auto closure device, which you might be able to see, but on the inlet it basically blocks the inlets. So whenever it's depressurized in this current state before you sort of attach it to a tank, dust, water, moisture and whatnot, it's going to help prevent that from getting inside of that first stage. As soon as the pressure is turned on, obviously the pressure just pushes against that spring and opens it up so you can breathe from it freely. But as soon as you depressurize it, it kind of automatically closes the device. So yeah, that's a handy sort of thing. And you get this pretty cool sort of dust cap as well, which protects those threads. Moving down from, sorry, I should also note that this is environmentally sealed. So it is balanced on the inside. So it's going to adjust sort of how much gas you can have and sort of how it breathes under the water. But it's also environmentally sealed. So that means that salt and verdigris and sort of algae and stuff, it's not going to get on the inside of the first stage, but it still allows for the ambient pressure to be transmitted. Moving down, little hose protector, just sort of holds that section of the hose straight, so it's not sort of bending right there on the ferrule. It just sort of keeps it a bit more sort of rigid to protect that. And then the rest of the hose is a braided hose, so lightweight, very flexible, and pretty tough as well. Moving down to the second stage, so this is the MBS or Master Breathing System second stage of the Legend range. As soon as the gas comes in, we get another hose protector protecting that end, and then it meets another heat sink. So all of these fins again just helping to prevent that little valve on the inside from freezing up. The purge valve on the front, all of this circle here is the purge valve, and that's solid, rigid, and you kind of have a few different ways of sort of using this. So you can just sort of press it at an angle, and that will just give you a little bit of gas if you need to sort of purge it a little bit, or if you push it in the center or push the side particularly hard, then it really does sort of purge it, and that's a great way to empty any water or contaminants on the inside of that second stage. The metal detail around the front, this kind of cog saw blade, is pretty cool for the Legend range. And then onto the MBS itself. So this is where it gets its name from, the MBS. You have this little breathing adjustment knob, which is on most second stages, and that just adjusts how hard you have to inhale for that valve to open. But what this one does is on the inside, there's a Venturi vein, which basically redirects the airflow on the inside of the second stage. So when it's screwed all the way in, it restricts the amount of airflow on the inside, so it makes it a little bit harder for that valve to open, and it also redirects airflow back towards the front of that of the second stage, and that way it's going to greatly reduce chances of a free flow. If you want pure, sort of really nice, clean breathing, then you screw it all the way out, and that way it gives you better airflow and makes it a lot lighter, so it's a lot easier to breathe from. The second stage has this little section here, which is a section of silicone, and this is a lip shield. This is more for cold water diving, and this just means that when you're actually biting onto it, it covers up your lips and it slows the water movement over your lips. And believe me, because I use this on my own second stages, this does work. It just simply covers them over, and yeah, because it hasn't got that cold water flushing over your lips, it actually keeps them sort of feeling warmer for longer. You can remove it if you want, it's just a piece of silicone, but that is a nice touch, especially if you're in sort of cold water environments. Mouthpiece itself, so this is a ComfoBite mouthpiece. You've got this little bridge over the top here, and it's nice and short as well. So the ComfoBite is a very clever design. It's all made out of pretty tough silicone, but you don't have to bite down on it for it to hold itself in your mouth. This bridge just sort of naturally sits kind of behind your teeth and just kind of holds the second stage in position without you having to kind of bite down on it, so you don't get jaw fatigue at the end of the dive. Reusable cable tie, so you can just unhinge that and then reuse it. You don't have to buy sort of single-use cable ties. This one you can sort of undo yourself. And then on the underside, we got the sort of funky blue detail of the MBS for the exhaust tee, and that's just sending bubbles away from your face, so you can actually see what you're doing in the water. Very clever design in the sort of second stage cover, in that you have to sort of manipulate this little pin here to actually sort of remove it, so you don't have to worry about that sort of second stage unscrewing itself at any point. Moving on to the Octo. So the Octo is like a step down from the MBS. It still has Venturi, but it doesn't have adjustable breathing. You still have that braided hose, so nice and light, but this is bright yellow so you can see it. Again, you get the hose protector and the same heat sink. The only thing that really changes is that the metal kind of saw sort of pattern on the front. So this is a sort of a softer silicone-like material instead of metal. The purge valve works exactly in the same way. It doesn't have MBS, but it does have this adjustable Venturi. So that's redirecting the airflow, but it's not changing sort of how easy or hard it is to open up that valve. But the Venturi is really all you really want on your Octo, because as soon as you jump in, this is invariably not in your mouth. So that's going to interrupt a free flow before it occurs. Right, so let's review the MBS Stage 3 sets. First of all, who is this for? So this is a recreational set of regulators. This is a good all-rounder. Someone who wants to dive at home, they want a tough set of regulators that can dive at home in colder waters as well, but also something that you can travel abroad with. That's kind of primarily who these regulators are aimed at. Recreational setup, because we've got the yellow Octo on a slightly longer hose, and yeah, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a good set of regulators, and yeah, sort of everything in it does work for that style of diver. It's that little kind of mid to premium kind of design, sort of nice little features all over it, and the overall look and aesthetics to it are very nice. So it's for that sort of diver, recreational, upper premium, but with sort of good sort of performance. Looking at performance, I've given this 5 out of 5 for performance. When that MBS is dialed all the way out, it does give you a lot of gas, and this is an overbalanced regulator as well. So the deeper down you go, the more gas it can give you. So it's going to be able to give you plenty of gas. I do like that MBS, that master breathing system, in that you can adjust the venturi and the breathing adjustment at the same time. So very, very clever. I definitely like that. Then we're moving on to the weight. So I've given this 4 out of 5, only for that sort of first stage. It's a little heavy and it's a little sort of big, but it's not a deal breaker. You kind of need that size and the weight for the cold water that it's kind of aiming at. But if you're looking to travel a lot and weight is of the essence, then maybe sort of reconsider. But it's not prohibitive. It is a big chunk of sort of metal, but it's not particularly heavy compared to a lot of other first stages. Second stage themselves, these weigh very little. So the main sort of weight of the product is in that first stage. Then we're looking into features. 5 out of 5, lots of features all over it, and with the reusable cable ties, the sort of the lip protector, that lip shield that goes on the front, master breathing system, very clever, braided hoses, the ACD, the auto closure device on the first stage. 5 out of 5 is really easy. And then getting on to the price, so this does sit at the kind of the middle upper price. We're not getting into the sort of the uber, not technical regulators, but the fancy titanium regulators and whatnot. Those are above and beyond, but this is, it kind of sits at the upper middle range of regulators, and it makes sense. I can see why, because Aqualung, they put a lot of details and a lot of attention into all of this. Even the venturi lever on the Octo, it's 2 separate materials, and they got that softer sort of almost silicone material on that little venturi switch. So all those little details are all adding up. So yeah, I've given it 5 out of 5, which gives it a total of 9.5 out of 10, because it is a very nice set of regulators. Good all-rounder. So if you're in the market for a nice set of regulators that you can dive at home in colder waters, even in the winter time, but you can also travel abroad with them as well, you're going on holiday and you want to take your set of regulators, then yeah, I definitely recommend the Legend MBS. Okay, so that's the Aqualung Legend MBS Stage 3 regulator set. A really good sort of starting point. If these are your first set of regulators, then these are going to last for a very long time, and you have pretty much everything that you need. All you need to do is get a set of gauges to bolt onto these, and any hoses from your BCD or your dry suit, and you're ready to go diving. They really are a good all-rounder that you can dive in cold water and travel abroad with them as well. Definitely worth checking out. There's going to be more information on our website, simplyscuba.com. There's going to be a link to these products down in the description below. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.